Welcome to the Curious Kidcast. I'm your host, Charlie, and today I need you to stop whatever you're doing because we're about to answer a question so simple, so obvious, so staring you in the face that the fact nobody ever told you the answer is frankly a scandal. Why are bubbles round? That is it. That is the question. And by the end of this episode, you are going to know the answer and you are going to feel incredibly smug about it at the dinner table tonight.
Curious Kidcast, here we go. Questions poppin', minds will blow. Big ideas, they're taking flight. Let's explore, feel the light.
Now, today's question comes from a listener called Priya from Birmingham, England. Priya was in the middle of a very important science experiment, which is what she told her mum she was doing, but was actually just blowing bubbles in the living room using a straw and a cup of washing up liquid. Classic. Anyway, mid-bubble, she stopped, looked her mum dead in the eyes and said, "Why are they always round though?" Her mum said, "I don't know, go and ask your dad." Her dad said, "I don't know, go and look it up." So she looked it up, found the Curious Kidcast and sent in her question. Priya, this episode is for you. You are a scientist, the living room is your laboratory. Right, so first things first, what actually is a bubble? And no, a floaty soap thing is not the answer I am looking for, even though it is technically correct. A bubble is a super thin layer of soapy water wrapped around a pocket of trapped air. Think of it like a very tiny, very shiny, very fragile sleeping bag, and the air inside is having the time of its life in there. The film has two surfaces, one facing outward and one facing inward, with a thin layer of liquid in between. That liquid, despite looking like it is just chilling, is absolutely full of drama. Here's why. The tiny molecules inside that liquid, which are so small you could never ever see them, are all attracted to each other. They love each other. They want to be together. They would write each other little notes if they could. Because they are all pulling on each other, the surface of the liquid tries to shrink itself down and take up as little space as possible. Scientists call this surface tension, which is basically just a fancy term for water being extremely clingy. Now, surface tension is not just a bubble thing. It is also why a water droplet on a leaf forms a little dome instead of spreading flat. It is why certain insects called water striders can walk across the surface of a pond without sinking. Imagine that. Just casually strolling across a lake. Not swimming, not a boat, just walking. Water striders are out here living a life that none of us will ever have, and they do not even appreciate it. But back to bubbles. In a soap bubble, surface tension pulls equally across the entire film, in every direction all at once. It does not pull harder on one side. It does not have a favorite spot. It is completely fair, like the world's tiniest, most dedicated referee. And when a force pulls equally inward in all directions, trying to make the surface as small as it possibly can, the shape you end up with is a sphere. Every time, no exceptions. The sphere is nature's answer to the question, what is the most efficient shape to wrap around this air? And here is the genuinely mind-bending bit. For any given amount of air, a sphere uses less surface than any other shape. Less than a cube, less than a pyramid, less than a shape that looks like a wobbly cheese which I may have invented just now. A sphere is the undisputed champion of efficiency. It does the maximum job with the minimum material. If shapes were people, the sphere would be that one kid at school who finishes the test first and then just sits there looking calm while everyone else is still frantically writing. Think of it this way. Imagine you have a fixed amount of soapy film and your job is to trap as much air as possible inside it. If you made a sphere, you would trap more air than if you made a cube or any other shape with the same amount of film. The sphere wins every single time. So when a bubble forms and the surface tension starts pulling inward, the bubble naturally settles into the shape that uses the least surface area, and that shape is always a sphere. Always. The bubble does not think about it. It does not do any calculations. It just becomes round because the physics does not give it any other sensible option. There is also something called energy involved here. A stretched surface stores energy, a bit like a rubber band pulled tight. The more surface area you have, the more energy is stored. And nature, much like a tired kid on a Sunday afternoon, always wants to use as little energy as possible. A sphere uses the least energy of any shape, which means a bubble becomes a sphere because it is, scientifically speaking, the laziest possible option. And in this case, being lazy is actually the correct answer. Tell your teacher Charlie said that too. Now, the air inside the bubble is also doing something important. It is pushing outward in all directions. The soapy film is pulling inward in all directions. These two forces have to balance each other out, and when they do, perfectly and evenly all the way around, you get a smooth curved surface with no corners, no flat bits, and no sharp edges. If the bubble tried to be a cube, the corners would be under way more stress than the flat sides, the film would not be happy about it, and surface tension would immediately start smoothing those corners out until the whole thing became round again. The sphere is the only shape where every single part of the surface is under exactly the same amount of stress. Perfectly even, perfectly balanced, basically the most fair shape in the universe. You might be wondering, what about shaped bubble wands? You know the ones, star shapes, heart shapes, dinosaur shapes, that one weird one shaped like a crown that came in a party bag. No matter what shape the wand is, the bubble always comes out round once it floats away. Why? Because the wand only controls the bubble while the film is still attached to it. The second the bubble breaks free and floats off on its own, it is no longer constrained by the wand. Surface tension immediately takes over, starts smoothing everything out, and within moments the bubble is a perfect sphere. The wand is basically useless once the bubble escapes. Which, if the bubble could talk, I imagine it would say something like, "Cheers for the introduction, mate, but I will take it from here." Now, I said bubbles are always round, but I should be honest with you, because that is not the whole truth. A single, free, floating bubble is almost always a sphere. But when bubbles are squished together, like in foam or in a sink full of dishes that someone definitely did not leave there for 3 days, they press against each other and form flat faces where they meet. When a bubble has neighbors pushing in from all sides, it cannot just go off and be a perfect sphere. So instead it compromises, forms flat shared walls, and the whole thing looks like a strange, bubbly honeycomb. It's like trying to sit comfortably in the middle seat on a packed bus. You want to stretch out. You can't. You do your best. And why do we use soap at all? Why not just plain water? Well, plain water does have surface tension, but it is actually a bit too stiff and snappy on its own. The film breaks almost immediately before you can even get a bubble going. Try blowing bubbles with plain water and you will just end up frustrated and slightly damp. Soap gets in between the water molecules and makes the film more flexible and stretchy, a bit like adding elastic to it. It gives the bubble time to actually form and float around before popping. Without soap, bubbles would basically be a disappointment, and there is no room for that on this podcast. Here is a bonus fact that will make you look at rain completely differently. Raindrops and water droplets also tend to become round, and for almost exactly the same reason. Surface tension pulls the outside of the droplet inward, and the whole thing settles into a sphere because that is the most efficient shape. So, the next time you are staring out of a classroom window at the rain, watching the droplets trickle down the glass, you are watching the same physics that makes bubbles round. You are basically doing science homework. You are not daydreaming. You are studying. Bubbles also connect to something mathematicians care about called minimal surfaces, which are shapes that use the absolute least amount of area to do a particular job. Soap bubbles find these shapes automatically. No equations, no calculator, no 30-minute lesson about algebra. The bubble just does the maths instantly and gets the right answer every time. Scientists have actually used soap films to help solve complicated engineering problems because the film naturally shows the most efficient solution. So when Priya was in that living room blowing bubbles through a straw, she was running genuine physics experiments. Her mum should be proud. Right then, quiz time. 3 questions based on everything we have just learned. You can shout your answers out loud if you want. I can't hear you, but it is more fun that way, and the people around you will find it very entertaining. Question 1. What is the name of the force that pulls a bubble's surface inward and tries to make it as small as possible? Is it A, gravity, B, surface tension, or C, the power of friendship? The answer is B, surface tension. Surface tension is caused by water molecules attracting each other, pulling the film inward, and causing the bubble to form the smallest possible shape. If you said C, I respect the optimism, but no. Question 2. Why does a bubble come out round even if you blow it through a star-shaped wand? Is it A, because the bubble is embarrassed by star shapes? B, because once the bubble floats free, surface tension pulls the film into the shape with the smallest area, which is a sphere. Or C, because the stars on the wand are actually just decoration. The answer is B. The wand shape only affects the bubble while it is attached. Once it floats free, surface tension takes over immediately and turns it into a sphere. Well done if you got that one. Question 3. For any given volume of air, which shape uses the smallest amount of surface to wrap around it? Is it A, a cube, B, a pyramid, or C, a sphere? It is C, a sphere. The sphere is the most efficient shape in nature for enclosing a volume with the least possible surface area. That is why bubbles are round, why raindrops are round, and honestly why a lot of things in nature end up round. Nature is very committed to the sphere, and I think we should all respect that. So there we have it. Your bubble question turned out to be one of those brilliant ones that sounds simple on the surface, pun absolutely intended, but actually opens up a whole world of physics, geometry, and the way nature prefers to do things efficiently. Bubbles are round because surface tension pulls inward equally in all directions, air pressure pushes outward equally in all directions, and the shape where those forces are perfectly balanced, using the least surface area and the least energy, is always a sphere. Nature is, at its heart, a little bit lazy. And that laziness creates something genuinely beautiful. The next time you blow a bubble and watch it drift away, remember you are watching a tiny, shimmering physics experiment that has solved a mathematical problem without doing a single second of homework. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please do share it with a friend, a sibling, a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, or honestly anyone who has ever stared at a bubble and thought, hang on, why is that round? And if you have got a question you would like me to answer on a future episode, because no question is too silly, too weird, or too random on this show, head over to CuriousKidcast.com, drop your question there, and maybe your name will be the one read out at the start of the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and if you are listening on a podcast app, leaving a review really does help other curious kids find the show. I've been Charlie. Keep asking those questions, and I will catch you on the next episode of the Curious Kidcast.